Welcome to Conversations Beyond Borders. I'm Laura, a mindset coach and your guide through the fascinating, sometimes challenging, but always transformative world of midlife. This podcast is for women just like you, women who are growing, questioning what's next, redefining their identities, and stepping into a new chapter with courage and curiosity.
And I'm Susan. Whether it's an empty nest, a career shift, or just that feeling of what now, midlife brings many questions, but it also offers incredible opportunities for growth and discovery. We're here to explore it with real stories, expert insights, and honest conversations about what it truly means to navigate this time of life.
In each episode, we'll explore a midlife challenge, whether it's making time for ourselves, stepping into new passions, or letting go of past expectations. We're tackling it all.
And the best part, you're not alone in this. You'll hear from women on the same journey, and we'll uncover the lessons, the laughter, and the aha moments that come with embracing midlife as a fresh beginning.
So whether you're feeling stuck or inspired, unsure, or ready to leap on in, Conversations Beyond Borders is here for you. This is a safe space to dream bigger, dig deeper, and connect with women who are also ready to live boldly beyond the borders of what they once believed possible.
Take a deep breath, find a quiet moment for yourself, and tune in as we navigate midlife together, sharing honest and meaningful conversations. Welcome to the first season of Conversations Beyond Borders, a podcast created for midlife women who are ready to embrace growth, overcome self-doubt, and build a life they love. Over the course of 10 episodes, we'll take you through what we call the Midlife Evolution, 5 stages designed to help you rediscover purpose, gain confidence, and find community. In each stage, we'll tackle the tough emotions and the challenges that often come up with midlife, and we'll share practical steps for moving through them.
Each stage will be covered in 2 parts. In the first episode, we'll dig into the experiences and feelings that can hold us back. Then the following episode will guide you through the tools and skills you'll need to overcome these obstacles and set new goals. To support you through this journey, we're also offering a companion workbook.
This workbook will help you track your reflections, set intentions, and capture key insights from each episode. With dedicated sections for each stage, you'll have space to take notes, jot down goals, and document any breakthroughs as we progress.
We'll also dive into the importance of emotional language. Learning to recognize and name our emotions can deepen our self-awareness and resilience. We'll guide you in navigating this emotional terrain, enhancing your personal growth, and building stronger relationships with yourself and others.
Join us for a season of meaningful conversations, actionable advice, and a community that's here to support you every step of the way. Grab your workbook and let's get started on this incredible journey together.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're finally here, Susan. Oh my gosh, can you believe this? I'm so excited. We're finally launching.
It's really an incredible moment. I almost want to pause and take this in. We'll never be in this spot again.
Oh, I love that. I should have put champagne in my coffee cup this morning.
Exactly.
Have a toast.
Let the ball drop. Let the balloons fall. Let the confetti go, because this is a big day. This is a really big day, if we're going to be honest with each other.
Yeah, I mean, how long have we been meeting? Oh my gosh, I mean, we've put so much work into this.
Oh, it is, because we care. And we hope that our listeners will hear it and feel it and come along the ride. Just come with us.
Yes.
I couldn't be more excited, because today is the day we launch the first ever season 1 of our podcast. It's going to include 10 episodes that we've worked really hard on. and we like to call it the Midlife Evolution. We're going to cover everything that is midlife.
I am so excited that we finally get to share all of our stories, trials, learning moments, research, and in hopes that we become the big sister to our listeners and try to help people become, a little more prepared for when they start to go through this transition.
Yeah, I sure would have loved someone to sit down and talk to me about what was coming.
Oh my gosh, me too.
But you and I, we're going to look at all the emotions, all of them. And by understanding and using emotional language, a term that might be new to a lot of people, we're going to get into better understanding ourselves and how we interact with everyone around us.
I love that. I love that.
So, Laura, let's dive in.
What? We're going to share now?
We're going to dive in to the first episode.
Okay, it's time to take off the armor and be revealing and vulnerable. Okay, we got this. We got this.
We got it. We got it. Our first title, and some may laugh. They may laugh at our title, Lost and Found. But I betcha if everyone really got honest with themselves, they've had a time where lost and found may describe themselves quite perfectly. We want to call it Lost and Found because it's the navigating midlife's emotional crossroads. This is where it all begins.
No, for sure, for sure. And the other thing with Lost and Found is you can't get found until you get lost. So, it's really going to be talking about and learning about how, to leverage those moments of being lost and understanding the emotions that go with that, and taking those and using them as your compass of sorts to help guide you.
Exactly.
So, Susan, do you want to share? Do you want to be the first one to share about your first moment of your first child leaving home and what that was like?
Oh, it was, this one's a doozy, I have to admit. I was a pretty young mom and I wasn't ready to see my son leave home at 15 years of age into an
God,
environment
that'd be so
that was very grown up and very scary. He was going to go play hockey with men who were a lot older than he was. And
Yeah, they're like 21, right? They play up to 21 years old. So you got a 6-year age difference on boys that have a huge, vast difference in maturity.
Right. I had a whole set of like complex and confusing emotions. I don't even think I fully understood. I think I was just trying to survive it. I knew I was sad. I knew I worried. Every time I walked past his bedroom, those feelings would rise. I'd be triggered so many ways, and I found myself isolating. I didn't want to go out and socialize with anyone. I wasn't showing up in my other relationships, and my sense of purpose was finally shaken.
Well, it can be so overwhelming, right? I mean, it's like, how can you deal with the outside stimulus of other people around you when you're dealing with so much?
Yep, I had lost complete control of what was happening to my son. As an extra example, they had video cameras set up in the high school he was attending, and I literally would wait to see if I could see him walk by.
Yeah, that would be, I couldn't have that access. That would drive me crazy. Yeah, I would be the same way. I would be stalking my child for sure, just to get a glimpse and just be able to put eyes on him and make sure he was okay. Now, how far away, when he moved, Susan, how far away was he from you guys?
Well, we were in Colorado and Alex was way back in Canada in Red Deer, Alberta.
So not an easy drive.
No, because he was young. He was still in school, never mind trying to play on a team of complete strangers. I don't think I realized it, but this was the first time that I was grappling with grief and uncertainty and resentment that probably went unnamed.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I began recognizing and naming those emotions that I really started healing and getting a grasp for what my new role looked like for my son who lives so far away.
Right. To get very cliche, I mean, if you don't feel it and recognize it, you can't heal it, right? Yeah. So just trying to manage.
Yeah, it brings me tears to this day. It was the very first time I had the biggest shift in my role as mom. I know you have an example, Laura.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, again, doing the same thing where I was fortunate. I've got to hold on to my little darlings for a little bit longer. But, my kids today are in their 30s. In fact, I was talking to somebody just yesterday about it, and realizing my oldest is going to be 36 this year. And I was just like, oh, dear God,
Oh
when did that
boy.
happen?
No kidding. We can't be that old, Laura.
Right? Oh my gosh. I remember when our little guys were still like 8 and 9 years old, running around in their little matching tracksuits and team hockey bags with their little names embroidered on it. Jeez, oh, Pete. But I can remember each one of my kids leaving home. They say, whoever the great they is, they say that you always remember those pivotal times in your life. Like you hear people talk about, when JFK got shot, they remember where they were. When the towers went down, we remember where we were. I remember exactly where I was with each one of my kids leaving home, like it happened yesterday. And it was very emotional. It was very messy. And I was, like you, completely unprepared for the level and the deepness of the grief that I felt when they left, and the uncertainty of what my role was going to be as their mom.
Absolutely. It's a life stamp that it doesn't disappear.
No, never. But I also know that everyone handles it differently. I did find myself using work, which was a great distraction, and it provided me some structure, gave me something to focus on, which I thought was in some areas very healthy because it allowed me to build a career. But also, again, distraction and not facing it is not a healthy thing either. But I also found that anytime I was on the phone talking to my kids, I was listening for any little element or little gem that they could offer where I could be like, ooh, I can connect with them here.
Yeah, I can be relevant.
Right, exactly. So one of my favorite things was when all the kids were at home and all their friends would be over, like, stay the night before, whatever. I loved feeding the house, loved it.
Right.
So I would constantly offer, it's like, oh, you have a home game on Saturday? Let me come over Saturday morning and cook the house breakfast. And it was insanity because they lived.
Didn't.
Oh, no, I did.
Oh, Laura.
I know.
But that's what we do, right?
Oh, exactly.
We try to find a way to communicate with them, a text, something, but we clearly are forgetting that their lives are exciting and new, but we still feel like we're being left behind.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So yeah, definitely was looking for anywhere that I could stay connected or be relevant, like you said. Ooh, that one hurts though. Relevant. Ugh, makes you feel like, for me anyway, makes me feel so tossed aside.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to be the only mothers out there that tried to hide exactly how we feel, right? We're supposed to have given them everything they need and send them off, kick them out of the nest. That's our job.
Right. Exactly. We're all trying to find ways to cope with that. And part of looking back and trying, and healing from it is really realizing, and this is one of those pieces that I hope we can share in that big sister place where it's like, this isn't going to be about your kids. This is going to be about you.
Right.
This is going to be about you and how you're managing through this. And then really, like you said, recognizing and naming those emotions.
Yes. And that's why it's so essential to validate these experiences and reflect on these emotions that come with them. It's often thought that empty nest, we're done, we're over. Somehow you feel more like a failure than a celebrated athlete of some sort, but it's a renewed chapter. We can't avoid that pain. The pain comes with it, but there's also opportunities. This is the very first step towards rediscovering who you are. You have time. This is your time.
Exactly. So, Susan, sounds like it's time. Speaking of time, sounds like it's time that we do a little bit of a pivot and go into some of the emotions and discuss what to expect and maybe how to manage those a little bit.
I absolutely agree. We take this podcast very seriously, but there will be times when we're definitely going to laugh and we're definitely going to cry. But we want you to come along with this journey. So, what that means sometimes is giving you information, sharing what we have learned in this season. So, we're going to examine more specifically what are the emotions found in that stage one. That stage one, we're going to call the weight of disconnection. We're going to take a look at what it feels like to be disconnected from everyone, including yourself.
Oh my gosh, the way to disconnection. I wish someone would have prepared me for this feeling. You go along. You have your babies. You go along. They meet their milestones. You take them to the doctor. Are they walking on time? Are they talking on time? Are they measuring up? They're growing and they're gaining their independence. And it's just that natural order of them growing up. And then all of a sudden they're gone. You're completely invested and you get this little human that's amazing and you put everything into them and then they leave.
Everyone says time goes so fast, but you're not ready. You're not ready.
No. And you can have no appreciation for what that truly feels like, when somebody explains it or says it. But then you're left with figuring out what's your role and what do you do now? And, for me, I totally felt confused, disconnected, and it was miserable.
Agreed. Oh, disconnection can show up in so many ways. There's the insecurity of wondering, oh boy, if we're enough. Then the invisibility that creeps in when we feel we're being overlooked. And that certainly happens when we're no longer the prominent person in their lives. But certainly the loneliness, that's hard to admit. I don't even think I realized that the grief that I was losing that was parts of my past self. Someone once explained it to me that these emotions can leave us feeling stuck, like we're carrying around a backpack full of rocks.
Yeah, that's a great metaphor. I like that. Because it's exhausting, right? It's exhausting to carry around the weight of all those emotions.
Oh, right. And disconnection doesn't just happen overnight. It is that slow erosion. It starts small. It may start by neglecting our needs I spoke of earlier while we're still trying to care for others. And then over time, we wake up one day and realize we don't even recognize who we are. Never mind, who did I want to be all those years ago?
Oh my gosh, right? I can't even. I think about who I wanted to be all those years ago, and it's insane. The list was long, and I think so many women who are either getting ready to approach this stage, in the middle of the stage, or even post, sitting where we're at, can relate to those feelings of who am I now? How did I get here? I know that was one of the things that when the kids left, it's like, who am I now? And I know that some people, grapple with the shame.
Yeah, I agree. Shame is something that you don't necessarily expect, but it whispers and it says to you this, should I have it all together?
Right.
Why don't I?
Why am I a mess?
Right. And it thrives in this silence.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're disconnected, you know what happens? We believe those lies. We believe them much easier.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, when you don't open up and allow somebody to come in and help replace those lies, no, you're definitely going to be in a space of vulnerability.
Yeah, society kind of forces us into the back corner where secrecy and shame we spoke of operates, but this is not the end of this story. Disconnection
No.
does happen, but there is hope. There is hope.
Yes. And I will tell you, one of the things that was helpful, that gave me hope during this stage, was learning the importance of recognizing my emotions. And I'm not just being like, okay, yeah, I'm feeling happy today, I'm feeling sad today, or I'm just pissed. It's really deeper and more complex, really digging into emotions like grief, despair. I mean, whoever talks about feeling despair, right?
Nope. Well, as Brene Brown says, we only recognize maybe 8, 10, 12 emotions, but there's over 100.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. And then one of the other things that she said that really resonated with me had to do with the idea that if we really look at our emotions and dig into those more complex ones and name the more complex ones, it actually changes the way we move through midlife. And I know that for some people, it's not going to be easy to go there. We weren't all raised in these amazingly, emotionally healthy households.
True. And even if we were.
Right, exactly. I know people have been shamed by their parents. They don't feel comfortable in being in those vulnerable spaces. But it's so important, especially when you consider, again, that it can change the way you process this phase in your life. But I know it can be really scary.
Yep. Being vulnerable, discussing emotions openly, particularly, it feels risky. But you know what? Now that I'm in my 60s, I know that's where the magic happens. When I can say I feel invisible, or I am grieving the dreams I didn't achieve or the roles I no longer have, I created space for that growth. That is when we shed those rocks in that backpack.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. So you just flipped what is a fear-based experience into an opportunity for growth. To our listeners, we would love to hear from you. What has been the heaviest rock in your backpack? If you haven't done so yet, be sure to download your workbook by visiting our podcast website at conversationsbeyondborders.com. You'll find the link right there. And if you haven't joined our private Facebook group yet, but want to be a part of the continued discussion, just click join here in the pop-up on the website.
Exactly, Laura. But for those who already are ahead of the game and have that workbook, we want to take just a few moments of intentional reflection. Use this time to download anything you may have heard, anything that may have triggered a thought. We shared some of our vulnerable moments, some of our difficult moments, and it's important that you do the same. And you can do this, as Laura said, in the workbook. We worked hard to make sure that there was space in each and every episode for you to reflect on the information that we've given you, as well as the emotions that pop into your head, or even the questions, because in the next segment, it's going to be called How There Are Ripple Effects of Disconnection.
So, Susan, first I want to welcome everybody back. I hope you had a nice little break, got some more tea, coffee, what have you. We are going to continue our discussion on disconnection by exploring the ripple effects it may cause. We'll talk about how emotions like resentment, stress, and anxiety and overwhelm can become barriers to living a purposeful life and stepping into your fullest potential.
Yeah, midlife, it can be such a strange time, right? We do often feel disconnected from ourselves and others and the life we thought we were living. So to identify those emotions as stress, worry, and resentment, this signals that it's a time of being out of alignment with our true selves. We're often juggling so much, oh boy, family, work, aging parents, and it's easy to lose sight of what we need.
Oh, for sure.
When we get disconnected from ourselves, these feelings can build up, turn into stress, and overwhelm. When we don't deal with those emotions, they pile up like those heavy stones, blocking us from living a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling.
So we know empty nesting brings feelings of uncertainty, which can sometimes feel overwhelming. How have you seen stress and overwhelm manifest during this phase? And maybe share with our listeners what practices or mindset shifts have helped you or others navigate these challenges while embracing this new chapter?
Well, when I was a young mom, I don't think I thought, wow, what is the difference between stress and overwhelm? It all just felt overwhelming.
Of course.
But while building this podcast and sharing with you these examples that we want to share with the listeners, I immediately remembered thinking that you go through all those developmental phases with your children and you think it's stressful. Are they? Can they spell their name? Are they socially interacting with their peers?
Right.
Right?
Right,
Are they
exactly.
completing their homework on time?
Will they get into a good school?
Oh, goodness. And never mind the athletic side of things,
Oh,
because you and
geez.
I can certainly share those stories for days. I think I realized much later in life and reflecting back, it was a stressful time. But I have to admit that the emotion of overwhelm probably is very different now that I have children that are no longer children. I have adults.
Mm-hmm,
And the
mm-hmm.
overwhelm, I think, sometimes is connected to the fact that they listen to other people. They may have bosses. They may have relationships. And they certainly have their peers. And never mind social media.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
It is overwhelming sometimes to help them navigate those serious decisions they're about to make as adults. How about you, Laura?
Oh, right. No, for sure. I can't even imagine. I have a granddaughter who's 9, going to be 10 this year.
Oh boy,
And I
how?
would never, right? I would never want to sit in that position, especially like you said, the social media and all the pressure that, you have to deal with them there too. But, then the other thing that we're dealing with is the resentment. The resentment builds up and, we see the breadwinner of the family going off to their job. They have structure, they have focus, they have purpose. And for those of us who didn't work outside the home when we were raising our kids, we're feeling adrift, or at least I did. And it's like, what's going to be next?
And it's interesting because I think sometimes our family, including our husbands and even our children,
Mm-hmm.
think they come with this manual that somehow we have all the answers.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
And half the time we're just flying by the seat of our pants too.
exactly. Exactly. It's like just because we're the moms, we've got some like secret tapped into some society or some automatics. Oh, I know what it is. When we become moms, we become mind readers.
That's exactly it. That we're supposed to be able to not only read the minds of our family and our husband, we're supposed to have all the answers.
Oh, right. Oh my
We're supposed to
gosh.
have all the answers. It's when we're in that cycle and it's hard, clearly, or we feel like we're moving forward, we get stuck in survival mode, just reacting to everyone around us. But here's the thing, the one tidbit that I will always take with me and have shared with my children and my friends is that when you get that feeling in your gut, when you're not sure where the information is even coming from, that it's a time to say something is off, listen to your gut and use that wisdom. That's why it's there.
With all of the research I did and the studying with the life coaching education, we've learned that, or I learned that the body, if we just listen to it, really is smarter than our brains. And because our brains are trying to process the information, right? Our bodies are just feeling it. And if we can just learn to understand those signals, so if we can learn to take these emotions and take our ego out of it and not necessarily we understand we're feeling the emotion, right? I mean, that's definitely, we're feeling it, but it's like, okay, I'm feeling the emotion. Let me take a step back. What was the emotion? Now, with ego out of it, what is this emotion trying to tell me? And I've been able to use that as a practice to understand that those emotions are trying to guide my path back to my true self. And that's helpful in going back and finding little Laura and what did little Laura want to do and what were her dreams beyond raising amazing kids? Because there were dreams before having amazing kids.
Yeah, no, and we think they're gone. When the kids go, we think the dreaming stops.
Right, exactly. And so if we can just really leverage these emotions and use them as a compass, and we do this, step out of ego and analyze, we really can leverage those to help guide us back on our path.
Yeah, we need to make the space for that clarity when we can just stop and stop avoiding those feelings. We can ask, what do I need right now? What am I actually avoiding? It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, they say. Eventually, you start seeing things more clearly. Well, that is, Laura, unless you suffer with the tear response while peeling onions. But even
Right.
even tears play a huge role in understanding what our body's going through.
Right. Yeah. And this is really when you start to move into becoming more self-actualized, getting real with yourself and identifying where you feel disconnect and allowing yourself that clarity to start making the choices to align with your own values. Like you said, that we don't need to be constantly reacting. Let's get proactive and start, use this as a time to educate and empower yourself and get proactive on creating an intentional life.
I love that. It's like permitting ourselves to live authentically again with no interference when we begin to clear out all the emotional baggage that we've carried along the way to survive what midlife asks of us. But then that's when we're making the room for more peace, joy, and connection with ourselves and others.
Yes, for sure. And it's important to remember this is a process. It's not about getting it perfectly. It's not about going back to being that, mind reader with all those answers. It really is just about taking a small step. A small intentional step is better than no step. And each little step you take towards being more in tune with who you are and what you want, that's really when the change starts. That's when we listen to our emotions and we let them show us the way.
Yep. And we're all going to do this journey together.
Yes, we will.
If you're listening today and you feel like you're carrying some emotional weight, just know you are not alone. You are not broken. These emotions simply signify that it's time to reconnect with yourself and get back into alignment.
So if you're feeling stuck or disconnected, remember, take a pause. Try to set your ego aside. Now, that's going to take some practice. And I know this may sound weird, but if we can acknowledge the emotion from a place of neutrality, we can better understand how they are going to guide us. And remember, again, even a small shift over time can lead to significant changes.
I couldn't agree more, Laura. So we just want to thank everyone for being with us today. We hope this conversation has given you more clarity and more encouragement, because we're going to navigate this journey toward connection and purpose together.
For sure. And we hope this glimpse into the first stage of our midlife evolution has sparked some ideas, and we encourage you to start your journey of recognition and understanding. Remember, Conversations Beyond Borders is here to be a resource, not just a podcast. To help you identify the emotions discussed in today's episode, go to our Facebook community and download the feelings wheel and the list of emotions you can safely lean into. The journey may not be easy, but let us tell you, it's going to be worth it.
We would like to take this time to thank Tudor for our amazing theme music. It has set the tone. It makes us happy. And we hope you find a connection too. You can find him on Instagram and YouTube under the name of Tudor Luca. We also want to thank our families for supporting this crazy new midlife adventure. And a special thank you to you, our listeners, for joining us on this crazy journey with us.
Now, here is some of the legal stuff. The information shared on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered professional health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. We are not licensed mental health professionals, and the content of this podcast is not intended to replace care from a qualified mental health provider. If you are experiencing distress, facing challenges in your mental health, or require professional support, we strongly encourage you to seek help from a licensed healthcare professional. If you are in crisis and need immediate support, you can contact the Suicide Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988 or texting 988. Trained crisis counselors are available 24/7 to offer free and confidential support. This podcast is designed to inspire and support women navigating midlife transitions, but your journey is unique and professional guidance can make a significant difference.